Well, one team down, three to go at the 2024 Memorial Cup in Saginaw. It was a big game last night between the Moose Jaw Warriors and the Drummondville Voltigeurs. And it was a back and forth game. Moose Jaw, they had that 3-0 lead early on. Drummondville battled back, but in the end, a shorthanded goal is the difference as the Warriors eliminated the Voltigeurs. So that means we'll have a new league champion at the Memorial Cup as the last four championships won by the Q. So for the first time since 2017, we could see a winner from the OHL or from 2014, a winner from the WHL. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out now because the Warriors are going to play in the semifinal Friday night. They don't know their opponent yet because that'll be determined tonight when the Saginaw Spirit and London Knights battle it out. The winner of tonight's game advances automatically to the Memorial Cup final on Sunday, while the team that falls short, they'll have to play Moose Jaw in the semifinal on Friday. So it's going right down to the wire at the Memorial Cup. Can't ask for any more drama than that. Although going into tonight's game, the Knights, yes, they're 2-0, just like the Saginaw Spirits. It's the first time that's happened since 2017 that two OHL teams are 2-0 after the opening two games of the round robin. But the London Knights, they will be without the services of Sawyer Boulton. He has been suspended once again. This has been, if you haven't been following the OHL, if you're from the Western Hockey League or the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League, Sawyer Boulton has been suspended now 8 times, and that's through the regular season, playoffs, and now the Memorial Cup. What happened was the game on Monday, there was a pregame warm-up violation in the game against the Moose Jaw Warriors. So what happened was, as Boulton was leaving the ice, he made contact with one of the players on the Warriors. So as a result, it's an automatic one-game suspension for the London Knights forward, and the Knights organization has also been fined $1,000 for the incident. So as I said, this is now 8 suspensions this season. So in 2023-24, Sawyer Boulton has been suspended 8 times for a variety of different incidents, this time being in the warm-up, which is a new one for him. But still, for Sawyer Boulton, that's kind of his style. And along with the London Knights, they've kind of taken this persona this year of kind of being the intimidator. They're not afraid to get in the face of the opponent. They're willing to throw the big hits, play that physical style. Sometimes it's pushing the line, and it's resulted in suspensions throughout. It's not just Sawyer Boulton. There's been other players on this team who've been suspended. Caleb Lawrence and Landon Sim, they both missed the OHL final because of suspensions. That was a carryover from the Western Conference final against the Saginaw Spirit. But despite all that, this London Knights team, they've found ways to overcome these obstacles. They've had the next man up approach all year long. But also to note, Sawyer Boulton not getting a lot of ice time at the Memorial Cup. In the 2 games, Boulton, no points and just 1 shot on net. And that was in the round robin opener against Drummondville. So London, of course, they're going to have the next man up approach. But Sawyer Boulton not in the lineup for the big game tonight against the Saginaw Spirit. And you already figure with what happened in that conference final between Landon Sim and Braden Hache, with words that were exchanged in the warm-up in that series, that resulted in Sim being handed that 5-game suspension for a word that was put on the list of words you can't say, according to the Ontario Hockey League, and that was an automatic 5-game suspension for that. So Sim and Hache, I'm sure the league will be keeping a close watch on those two during the warm-up, especially now we had this situation happen between London and Moose Jaw. 2 teams that have no history with one another. There's no rivalry, so it's not like Sawyer Boulton and the player that he bumped into have a long history out on the ice. But still, I'm sure officials will be keeping a close watch on the warm-up and also what happens. But still, shaping up to be a very exciting game at the Memorial Cup. As I said, this game decides who is going to advance directly to the Memorial Cup championship game on Sunday. And just some news items to touch on. Martin Misiak, he has signed his NHL 3-year entry-level contract with the Chicago Blackhawks. This was announced yesterday afternoon, so I thought I'd get a video on it here today. Misiak, he was selected first overall in the CHL import draft by the Erie Otters last summer. And that was after he was picked up by the Chicago Blackhawks in the second round of the 2023 NHL entry draft. Misiak coming off a pretty decent season with the Erie Otters, 23 goals, 24 assists, 47 points. That was in 60 games of action. It kind of took Misiak a little bit to get used to the North American game. But as the season went on with the Erie Otters, you could tell that Misiak was getting more comfortable. And he ended the season actually with a 5-game point streak. So he does have that offensive output. It's going to be interesting to see, does he return to Erie next year? Because the Otters looking to be a much improved team, a team that's going to challenge for the Western Conference in the Ontario Hockey League next season. So does Misiak come back? Kind of like what we saw with Kitchener with Philip Michar. He came back from the Montreal Canadiens early on in the regular season, so he filled that import role. So does Misiak also come back from the Chicago Blackhawks, or with the Blackhawks being a young team and he's got that offensive upside, does he stick around in the National Hockey League? And because he wasn't drafted out of the Ontario Hockey League, Misiak could play in the American Hockey League with the Rockford Ice Hogs. So that's a situation to keep a close watch on if you're an Erie Otters fan. To note, the Windsor Arena, could it be coming back to life? It has been 16 years, believe it or not, since the Windsor Spitfires moved to the WFCU Center. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but man, time has flown by. I personally never had a chance to witness a Spitfires game at the old Windsor Arena, or what everyone calls the barn. I've heard some amazing stories, just the fans, just the design of that arena. The fans were on top of the action, and if you were in the press box, that arena, you could just feel the energy in that building. And I kind of wish I would have had a chance to experience that, because early on in my career covering the Ontario Hockey League, I wasn't on the road covering the OHL until I believe it was the 2009-2010 season, where I ended up going on the road. And actually one of the stops was WFCU Center for the Western Conference Final between Kitchener and Windsor. But it's an interesting situation that they're doing. Just looking at the information on the barn in Windsor, the University of Windsor Lancers, they were the last to use the arena for hockey up until 2014, and it hasn't been used since for sports. The city of Windsor has used it as storage for salt and other equipment, but it's been sitting vacant. And I know for the city of Windsor trying to do a downtown revitalization, they've considered demolishing the old arena and building condos or some sort of housing development on the property. But one idea that's being considered is, why not renovate the Windsor Arena and turn it into a sports arena once again? The Windsor Spitfires, they're not leaving the WFCU Center. That arena, it might be away from the downtown core and it can be hard to get to for some, but that building is a palace. If you've never been to the WFCU Center, it's definitely worth a visit. So they are not going to be moving out of that arena anytime soon, but the team that could end up using the old barn, the Windsor Express basketball team, they've looked into it before, but those plans have been rejected in the past by Windsor City Council. But we'll see if a proposal does in fact go before City Council once again as they look to revitalize the downtown core. I think it'd be nice to see a building such as this to be brought back to life and to be used in a positive way, especially if ice is a concern, because we're seeing that in a lot of communities where they don't have enough ice availability for sports like hockey, ringette, figure skating, or even just public skating time. It's kind of limited in many cities. So it would be great to see the arena back being used in one way or another, because you really don't want to see an arena with that history just sitting there wasting away. I was in Niagara Falls recently, and it was really sad to see the old home of the Niagara Falls Thunder just wasting away. I know they had a fire there recently, so it seems as though the life of that arena is numbered. We already lost the Jack Gatecliff Arena in St. Catharines. That was the former home of the Niagara Ice Dogs. That was torn down. They're going to build some condos or housing development there. But still, it's like these arenas, they've got so much history. And if there was a way to renovate and find a new use for sports or leisure activities, it'd be great. I know that housing is a problem and we need to get more homes built, but there's just that nostalgia feeling where it's like, if you could bring hockey back to some of these arenas, not at the OHL level, because I think the OHL has passed these centers, but still just to be able to have some sort of life back into these old barns. So that's the status on the Windsor Arena. I just wanted to bring it up here because I've heard so many great stories about that facility, just with the Spitfire teams of the past and just the passion of the fans. You still see that passion at the WFCU Center, but I feel like it must have been another level at the Windsor Arena. So that's how I see it from the booth. If you've ever been to a game at the Windsor Arena, let me know some of the stories maybe you've experienced there. And if you have any other comments in regards to any of these news items, you can put that down below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I appreciate you tuning in today and checking out this video. And if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I appreciate you coming on here. And if you want to help this channel grow, if you want to see more coverage of the junior hockey on YouTube, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And we'll talk to you soon.